Hey guys, what's up? Oddstuffs here, and today we are going to be specking out the best price to performance PC for around about $1,000. Hey guys, we are back, and now we're going to take a look at the part picker. So, to start, we are going to have the Intel i5-10400F, which is an extremely solid processor that rivals the Ryzen 5 3600 at a much cheaper price. $100 less to be exact. Now, while we lose the ability to overclock, I think for a beginner in the computer gaming space, this is the perfect processor. Next up, since we are sadly using an Intel CPU, we have the Hyper 212 Black, and that's just because the stock clues that come with these Intel CPUs are extremely outdated and extremely unfit for use. Next up, we have the B460M DS3H. Now, this is a motherboard that doesn't support XMP and does not support overclocking, but our CPU doesn't support overclocking as it's not unlocked, and our RAM doesn't need to be overclocked because it runs at the speed that the CPU supports. Next, we have the RAM that I was just talking about, DDR4 2400 CL16, and again, this will automatically run at the speed that our CPU suggests it to run, which should be, I think, about 2633. Next, we got our storage. Now, this is one of the parts in the build that I do not want to make any huge compromises. So while we're not going to be getting any EVOs from Samsung, we will be getting 1 terabyte of hard drive and 1 terabyte of SSD storage, just because even though hard drives and SSDs aren't really the most expensive things in your computer, they are something that you shouldn't have to constantly be upgrading, as having too many single units of storage within your computer can become a great hassle, as I have learned, because I have 3 separate storage units within my computer, and sometimes it becomes a little bit of a mess when stuff is auto-installing. So we have a terabyte of hard drives, which is the Western Digital Caviar Blue, which is one of the hard drives I use within my system, and it's the main hard drive I use in my system for games and other downloads, and I can verify it's really nice. Next up, we have the SN550, a terabyte SSD that's just above average, and I don't run this myself, but I have seen it in action, and it is a very solid SSD, very nice reads, very nice downloads, alright, and it's just amazing, alright, especially for the price of 105. Next up, we have our graphics card. This is pretty bog standard, a 3060 Ti, nothing much, but it is not a 3070, and that's because I devoted $100 to our SSD storage. And if we're talking about benchmarks, that is 60 Hz, 144 Hz, 120 Hz, and so on and so forth for our monitor refresh rates, it's not that much of a difference, especially with our 10400F. Finally, we have our case. That's the Montech X1. Not the prettiest case, but it is the prettiest case for $50, and it is not the best airflow for $50. But it is enough airflow for a 3060 Ti, and even down the line, a 3070, 3080, or whatever the next gen cards will be. And our CPU, if we were to upgrade, it would run just fine with the Hyper 212, and that's why I went with it, because room for upgrading, right? I mean, you could probably run like an 11700, or yeah, an 11700K or something like that under the hood in this, and you'd be just fine. And again, even though I did say finally when I was talking about the case, I neglected to tell you about the power supply. 750 watt power supply by EVGA. Now, the $50 price point for 750 watts might sound a bit sketch to some of you who know computer parts, but I used the 550 watt version of this power supply, and based off of what I found on the internet, the performance carries forward. Now, it's not particularly power efficient, so even though the power rating is 750 watts, you might actually be drawing, again, from your wall, well over 1,000 watts, alright, or well over 1,200 watts, actually, but that should not be a major concern here, because we're not doing mining, we're not running this thing overtime. It's not going to only be running throughout the day, alright, not through night, so we shouldn't have a big problem. Again, it should not overheat. I have, again, a 550 watt over there, the corner of my room, alright, I can get that later, I guess. In a future video, I'll talk about it. So, subscribe, and hit the notification bell icon, by the way, if you do want to see that. I have a video coming up about 3D printers, which one you should get, how you should get into this, and whether you should decide it's the right hobby or not for you. Again, subscribe, hit that little bell icon next to it if you want to see more about that. So that's basically it. Let's talk about price. 1020, which is under the 1100. Reason we have $80 left overs for the 3060 Ti. Sometimes it'll be $50 marked up. So again, it is really hard to find graphics cards right now. But if we are talking around MSRP from a seller that is selling at MSRP, so like Best Buy, Amazon, Shop BLT, right? $80 shouldn't really be a problem. All right. And that's it from me today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Peace.